Wow, yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, and welcome to the show where they talk about monsters. My name is Dr. Michael Chemers, and I am the director of the UC Santa Cruz Center for Monster Studies. And with me, as always, the sunny to my share, the yin to my yang.
Oh, I got one. The bride to your creature.
Ooh, the bride to my creature, Mike Halakakis. Give it up, please, for Mike Halakakis.
Hi, Doc.
Hi. Hi, Mike.
Hi, everybody else.
Yeah.
So we are in unprecedented territory.
Unprecedented.
Because not only are we doing this in front of people for the first time, we're doing
Ever.
this in front of each other for the first time.
That's right.
Really.
We have never actually been in the same room doing this podcast for 3 years.
Yeah, normally we use the black magic of the Intertrons.
The Intertrons.
Partially clothed to talk about monsters with some distance, but here we are in a room and it's great.
We're right in the room with the people. Make some noise, people. Yeah.
I'd like to set the scene for our 15% of listeners that are at home listening.
Right.
We're currently in an auditorium that seats, I think it's about 2,000.
2,000 people.
And it's about 2/3 full.
2/3 full.
So
yeah,
I feel like we're doing pretty good.
We're doing pretty good. This is a first for our podcast, and we really appreciate everybody coming out tonight to be a part of this. It's very exciting for us.
I also want to say, by way of introduction, Doc, before we get into our monster, which I'm super excited about, we saved a really, really good one for everybody, for us.
Yeah.
You know, about you who have put on this Festival of Monsters that we're at.
Yeah.
Because the monsters weren't going to do it themselves.
No, they don't. They don't. They're not good organizers.
I've seen you. We're at 7 p.m. At the end of like a 12-hour day.
Yes.
You, my friend, have been burning the candle at both ends with a blowtorch.
Yes.
And yet, and I've been like relaxing by the beach with my wife, having a good time watching some really, really great discussions today. But I'm impressed that you're here and doing this at the end of a long day. Good job.
Well, thank you. And I owe it all to...
I am not qualified to talk about the monster by myself. You're going to have to wake up for it.
Okay, that sounds good.
So let's get into it.
I was hoping for a bigger laugh, but whatever. That's fine. No, it's fine.
We need a bigger audience.
No, the audience is fantastic.
So I'm going to say that, and I'm a broken record because we keep covering monsters. I think that we've covered all that we can cover, and then we'll mention one, and I'll go, my God, that's like top 3. I mean, where would you put this? This is like a top 5.
This is the monster sine qua non. This is the ultimate monster, the monster to end all monsters. Maybe
Anybody have any guesses?
We should have saved it for Sweeps Week.
Here's a guess. Coming into the University of Santa Cruz this morning, I smelled some of this monster's lettuce coming into the auditorium.
Yeah, we do smoke a lot of this guy's lettuce here on the UC Santa Cruz. We're known for it. We're known for it here.
This monster is the devil.
The devil. Yeah? We like the devil? Okay, good. I'm sure the devil will be very happy to hear that positive feedback. Yeah. So if you are just here for the Festival of Monsters, which of course you all are, you may have noticed that we had intended to interview W. Scott Poole today. He is the author of a wonderful, wonderful book called Monsters in America, Our Obsession with the Hideous and the Haunting. And he unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. So we were going to have him on Zoom, and it was going to be a whole thing, and it was going to be really hard to do technically. So just pretend we're doing that.
Right. This is going to be way easier technically, although much more work for Doc, because you got to do your thing. I get the easy role of just playing the audience, which is redundant since we have an audience, but the audience that talks.
That's right. But we are going to give you an opportunity, apart from cheering, which we would love to see a lot of, and booing, which we would not love to see a lot of. We would love to have you interact and ask questions and stuff at the end of the podcast, and so that you can be immortalized as a voice on the show where they talk about monsters. So I have a little presentation I like to do when I'm talking about the devil, and it's called So You've Decided to Sell Your Soul, Tips for Dealing with a Buyer's Market. This is, I feel like, the best way to talk about the devil. So when we're talking about the devil, we have to go back. And I mean back.
Yeah, how far back are we talking?
We are talking...
Like way prehistory back?
Not prehistory, no.
Not that far back.
Could be. I don't know. I don't know what happened before history.
Right.
I'm a historian. Sometimes we can guess about what happened before history, but...
not as a historian, you can't.
I don't like to speculate. But I can tell you about... I think we're going to talk today about Zoroaster. We've never talked about Zoroaster. Zoroaster was a thinker and a spiritualist, a mystic, who lived in the 10th or 11th century BCE. So this is way back. This is farther back than we usually go.
Yeah, way back.
I'm not sure the Wayback Machine can actually handle this.
Crud. What are we going to do?
We'll just have to...
We started boned, right?
We did. We're boned. All right. Thank you. That was it. Good night. Yeah, no. Okay. So Zoroaster writes, he reduces the whole of the cosmos to two forces, spentamanyu, which means progressive thought, and angramanyu, which means destructive thought. And these are two supremely powerful angels that serve the god Uhura Mazda. Angramanyu is conceptualized as a powerful malicious demon who is responsible and an embodiment of all the badness, all the destructive thought in the universe. So I think that's our first appearance of this guy.
Metal. Let's do it.
Metal. All right, great. So from there we go to this word shaitan, which is is the Hebrew word, I think, for the Coriolis wind that sweeps through the Arabian deserts and will strip the skin off your bones. And they're called shaitan. Those winds are called shaitan. And so that's where we get the word Satan.
That's the etymology of the word Satan.
It's etymology of the word Satan. That's right.
Great. By the way, this is an opportunity for me to say a couple of episodes ago when we were talking about witches, I asked what the entomology of witches was. And I listened back to the podcast to take notes on myself, and I could hear the ghost of my mother came back to me and said, no. So I want to correct myself and say I was wrong. Anyway, keep going.
You were wrong about the word entomology?
Entomology versus etymology.
Etymology.
Easy, and I know an entomologist, too. It's easy to remember because ents remind you of ants.
Entomology.
So anyway, etymology. Go ahead.
It could also be the study of ents, which would bring it back to monster studies. That would be entology, though.
Very confusing.
No. But did you know the thing about Satan, though, which I think is actually super interesting, is that the first appearance of Satan is in the book of Job. Everybody remember the book of Job? Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah, book of Job, yeah.
Some real book of Job fans.
Oh, my God. We got fans of anybody read the Apocrypha? Yeah, let's go. Woo, the Apocrypha. Now, the book of Job is a super interesting book, which in case you don't know, you all said you knew, but that's just what people say when you ask them if they've read the book of Job.
I haven't read the book of Job.
Well, I'll tell you
Michael,
then, Mike.
Can you tell me?
I'll be happy to. So the book of Job is about this guy, Job, who is a faithful servant of God. And one of God's angels, Satan, or Satanas, whose job it is, he is not an evil creature. His job is to do God's dirty work, in a sense. He's called the accuser. And he goes out and he's supposed to single out people who do wrong for God then to punish. And Satan makes a bet with God at the beginning of the book of Job, and he says, I bet you that Job is only a loyal servant of yours. He's only loyal to God because he's prosperous. And he has many kine, which are cows. And he has a beautiful wife, and he has many sons.
Right. So he's got the goods, and that's the only reason that he...
Exactly. So it's easy for him to be loyal to God.
Right.
And God says, I bet you not. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh, says God. And Satan says, all right, let's try it. Let's see what... So all his kids die. All his cattle die. He gets terrible boils. He gets extremely sick. And a whole bunch of other terrible, terrible things happen to him that Satan does to him as part of this bet. And Job never gives up on God except at the very, very, very end when he calls out in his anguish and his pain and he says, why am I suffering? I've been good. Why do the good suffer and the wicked prosper? And God, for the first and only time, actually shows up and answers this question, right? Because I know
unprecedented.
I've asked God this question many, many times, and he's never shown up and answered the question. But he did give the answer to the question. Would you like to know his answer? Yes? His answer is basically none of your business. Shut up.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, that answer.
Nope, this is the kind of guy.
Totally on brand.
This is the guy who says, I will expel my first 2 students for learning.
Right.
Right? It's the same guy. So
I'm reminded of, real quick aside, when I was a kid, when my mother read me, Bible stories, which was about as far as I got in religious indoctrination. Mm-hmm. And my parents asked me what I thought about that, and I said, I think God's really mean.
Yes. God is really mean. And yeah, he basically says, did you where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth, he says. Can you harness a unicorn? Can you catch a whale? Who are you to be telling me how to run the universe, is basically what he says. And then there's another chapter of the book of Job that's written many, many, many years later where he gets everything back. He gets all his cattle back, and he gets new sons, and his boils clear up, and he feels better.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Huh. You don't hear about a lot of good endings.
No, I think the good ending was added many, many years later, perhaps centuries later.
Yeah, it was retconned.
It was total retcon.
Yeah, got
absolutely. It. But Zoroaster.
Yeah,
I want to talk about Zoroaster. So, in Zoroastrian mysticism, upon death, souls travel to the bridge of judgment. And those judged worthy move on to heaven, and those who fail are cast down to a terrifying hell. And Zoroaster also taught, and this is 10th century BC, or maybe 11th century BC, that the savior of the world would be born of a virgin. So Zoroaster had a tremendous impact on, and he was Persian, right? This is the Proto-Persian Empire. So through the spread of the Persian Empire throughout the Middle East, Zoroastrianism had a profound impact on the development of mystical thought and spirituality in Judaism, in Greek mysticism, Christianity, of course, Buddhism, Islam, and Baha'i.
Yeah, that's incredible. So what you're telling, what year are we in?
We're in the 11th century BC.
11th century.
Look around.
BC. Oh.
See a ziggurat.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking down because I was thinking so hard. I didn't think to look up.
Yeah.
So, wow. So the idea of a virgin birth came
from that guy, from Zoroaster.
Holy
yeah.
Smokes! Talk
Absolutely.
about influential.
Seriously, and so you've got a ton of heroic god figures who come to save the world who are born of a virgin, including Horus, and I think I can't remember. Nope, lost it.
Bob,
good old Bob. But anyway, so at this point, Satan is still, or what we think of maybe as the proto-Satan, is still just this force of badness in the world. So anything bad attaches to undermine you, right?
So at this point, we don't have any of the sort of physical characteristics or what our imaginations might
well,
bring
no.
to, we do.
We do, yeah. Angramanyu is depicted as a horrible demon.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
It's
horns.
The horns. I should
fangs,
actually
claws.
Say horns because it's radio instead of just doing
That's
this,
right. There's no point in doing that.
Yeah.
Nobody can see us except the audience can see us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. They're still out
They're
there.
still there. All 1,300 of them.
That's
just
right. 1,300 of
in
them.
unison.
Absolutely. So ask me about selling your soul to the devil.
Michael, I've had a question that I've been thinking about since we started.
Yeah, what is that?
I'm just curious, and I don't know if I'm interested or not.
Yeah,
but, what can you tell me about selling my soul to the devil?
Why do you want to know?
Power and glory?
That's right. And that's how you get it. Yeah, that's
the right
right.
answer.
There's two paths. You could work really hard,
No,
No.
boring.
or you could go this other path. So selling your soul to the devil is probably associated with witches, which is where we get, so probably the Middle Ages, right? The early Renaissance even. And there were definitely, I have read many, many writings of wizards from the early Renaissance who attempted to raise and control devils. And they recorded their efforts in a book called The Lesser Key of Solomon, which you can buy on Amazon. Knock yourself out, and you can try it.
Who's making money on that at this point?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. But every edition of The Lesser Key of Solomon comes with a new introduction that says, okay, we figured out what was wrong with the last edition. Now this edition is going to work for sure.
It's only taken us 1,200 years.
It's only taken us 1,200 years. We figured out what we're doing wrong. So this time, if you cast these spells, it's going to summon a devil.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they don't. Doesn't work.
You know from experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did manage to summon a devil, but he was like, it's not exactly a collector's item you're carrying around in there. Have you kept it clean? No.
That's a real crap day.
It was a crap day.
When the devil turns your soul down. Like, I could do better.
He offered me 3 days in Vegas. But I took it. Anyway, where were we? So why sell?
Yeah,
okay.
why would we do that?
Hard work and sacrifice is for chumps. That's the first principle, right?
Yeah.
Save time and money. You want to jump right to the head of the line. It's not like you're using your soul for anything anyway, right? It's just taking up space. You could put a nightstand up there or something like that, you know?
Right.
It's like
you could fill that space with money and power.
you could fill it with money and power. Play now, pay later. That's a good thing. And I think the most important thing about selling your soul to the devil is you really get to stick it to the man. And when I say the man, I mean
that man up there?
The man upstairs.
The big cheese.
Which I remind you is a guy who hardened Pharaoh's heart, right? Moses was like, let my people go. And Pharaoh was like, okay, if you want to go, you can go. And then God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and Pharaoh said no. And so then hundreds of thousands of people died. It's the same guy. Boo! I see we have some fans of God in this
We've
audience.
just got a boo for God. This is
Boo for
clearly not the most religious.
Someday remind me to tell you why God never received tenure. We're at a university. I could tell you
I'm
this.
holding that boo in my heart for like the next several days.
It's a good one. It's a good one. No,
So
God,
what's next?
I want to tell you why God never received tenure.
Go for
Can I
it.
tell you that?
Yeah.
Okay, number one, he only had one publication. And it was in Hebrew.
Oh God.
And it wasn't peer reviewed.
This is, by the way, for those that are not in the room. This is like killing an academic crowd.
Oh yeah, this kills academic
It's
crowd.
like
Yeah.
this is a very warm audience for that. humor.
Yeah. Number two, he never applied to the ethics board for permission to use human subjects in his experiments. Number three, he never showed up to teach the class. He just told his students to read the book. Some people say he had his son teach the class for him. His office hours were infrequent and held on a mountaintop. And finally, of course, he expelled his first two students for learning, which I already told that joke, so that's all right. And that's why God never received tenure, and I did. So, who are you going to believe? I think we've established that now.
Yeah. I mean, I was already there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, when you're trying to sell your soul, your business is based on attraction. Buyers rarely advertise. So I prefer summoning. It's the personal touch that shows you care. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you.
All right. You can use blood for this. Pro tip, doesn't have to be your own blood.
Anybody's blood will do.
Anybody's blood will do. Performance rituals, which, by the way, is why you are not allowed to say the word Macbeth in a theater. Do you guys know about this? We are in a theater, and I just said it. So this is bad news.
Yeah, and this is like the 5th time we've said it this season of the podcast. Or
Yes,
maybe
but
10th.
this is the first time that we've ever said it in a theater.
But it won't be the last, will it?
Macbeth.
Macbeth.
No, you're nervous, right? I'm nervous too. I don't like it. You're just waiting. A light's going to fall on my head. No,
Everybody look up.
the reason why that play, the Scottish play, as we say in the theater, to avoid saying the name of the play, the reason why that play is considered bad luck is because there is a complete demon summoning ritual in it. Mm-hmm. And you got to imagine from the point of view of the demon, he doesn't know that it's a play, right? As the demon gets up there and goes, "It's me, I'm here," and you're like, no, it's just a play. We're just acting.
This is we're just pretend. Get out of here, you demon.
Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Wishing really, really hard will work sometimes.
Wait, sacrifice is in like
human sacrifice.
Oh, okay. Not like I'm gonna give up food for my goals.
No, that's Lent.
Yeah, God. Oh, okay. I'm so surprised I got that and human sacrifice confused. So I won't make that mistake again.
You can also sell your soul by accident. There's some precedent for that in the histories.
Yeah, that sucks. That's a bad day.
That would be a bad day. And then just luck, like in Little Shop of Horrors, he just happens to wander across a little plant that he sells his soul to. What else? Oh, the terms. So here's the thing: you got to think. You got to think about what you really, really want.
Are you asking me right now?
Yeah. What do you want, Mike?
Oh, do I have to say in front of the whole audience?
I think so.
Wealth and power.
Wealth and power.
Still wealth and power.
How about youth?
Yeah, I'm doing okay on that regard.
How about staying exactly as old as you are for the next?
Nah, drop me back to 27. 27 was good.
Well, listen, baby, it's all on the menu, and it all costs the same.
Ooh,
that's right. Why do we do it? Misery loves company. That's what they said in Dr. Faustus, right? Which is, I'm a theater historian, so I'm always coming back to the theater. So in Dr. Faustus, he says, "Solem miseris socios habitue dolores."
It's easy for you to say.
It's not. Misery loves company. Yeah. The devils want more people in hell. That's it. That's it.
Great. So you'll have friends at the end. Too.
Exactly. Absolutely. But you got to ask yourself.
I'm feeling like I can't lose with this deal. Tell me more.
Well, you got to ask yourself, is this whole deal on the level?
Do I have to ask myself that?
No. Do you want to sell your soul or not? That's the question. Look what's waiting for you behind door number 1. Whatever you want.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have I was going to have something up here, but it didn't work. So anyway, do you remember when we talked about the osculum infame?
Yes.
When we were talking about witches?
Yeah. No, you're going to talk about that lovely image?
Yeah, this is from a witch hunting book from Italy, I think, from the 16th century called the Compendium Maleficarium, and it shows a bunch of witches at a Sabbat, a witch's Sabbath, and the devil is there in all his glory, and he is sticking his ass in the face of one of these witches. He's got a muscly butt. He's lifting up his tail.
Yeah. And
a witch is down on her knees, giving him satisfaction. And she's also got a little whip in her hand that she's whipping his butt while she does it.
Yeah, the last time we talked about this and we didn't have a room full of people, you said analingus, if I recall.
Is that what I said?
Yeah. So this is a real opportunity.
Analingus!
Yeah.
I said it.
It is an incredible image. For those of you that have not seen this image, I highly recommend looking it up. The last time we talked about it, I looked it up.
You called it up on your internets.
That's, yes, as if by black magic.
That's right.
And whew.
Yeah, it's really something. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll show it to you later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Nothing like describing an image for everybody to really entertain them.
So this is a way that you can seal the deal. That's my point, is the osculum infame. Or you can sign your name in the red book. So sometimes the devil shows up with a giant red book and you sign your name in it. That's a way to do it.
A guest book for souls.
Exactly. And yeah. And then there's a lot of really interesting stories about theater history and the devil that I would like to tell.
Please.
Okay. So in Metz in 1485, get this. You ready? It came to pass that there was performed a play in which there were several men playing the parts of devils. Among them was one who, in that get-up, wished to enjoy consortium with his wife. I wish, said he, to make the beast with two backs. This is from French.
1485?
1485.
That's where we got the beast from two backs?
Faire le diable. Make the beast with two backs. Make the devil. And hard as she tried to exist, she was forced to obey him. So that's not cool.
No.
And it came to...
when it gets unconsensual.
No, it's not consensual. And it came to pass that she gave birth and was delivered of a body that was from the mid-torso down the form of a man, and from the mid-torso up the form of a devil. And people were much astonished by this thing.
Gasp.
Indeed.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Okay. Chaumont, 1500. Here's a quote. For 3 months before the plays, so this is the actors who were in these medieval plays about the devil. For 3 months before the plays, the actors had authorization to run about the city and surrounding countryside in their costumes to announce the festivities. These parades led to strange abuses. The devils began to steal from the villages and marketplaces. Their monetary tolls caused them to be feared and hated, and contributed greatly to the suppression of the mystery plays. Which is not actually true at all. They were banned because they were too Catholic. One more?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do one more.
Exeter, 1585. Okay, so this is a play, Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. And as a certain number of devils kept everyone his circle there, and as Faustus was busy in his magical invocations, on a sudden they were all dashed, everyone hearkening the other in the ear, for they were all persuaded that there was one devil too many amongst them. So after a little pause desired the people to pardon them, they could go no further with this matter. The people also understanding the thing as it was, every man hastened to be first out of doors. One devil too many. Okay, I have one more.
Okay.
This is from the 19th century.
Then I have questions.
1824, London. 1824! They had doorbells. And this is a Gilbert and Sullivan opera that this happened at. In a celebrated pantomime called The Sorcerer, which is one of Gilbert and Sullivan's early plays, 12 devils danced, represented in dress of black and red with fiery eyes and snaky locks, and garnished with every appendage of horror. And then there were 13, for suddenly in their midst there stood another devil, who was, if possible, more terrible than the rest. His fellow Furies took alarm. They knew he did not belong to their company, and they judged him to be an infernal in earnest. The whole group fled different ways in order to avoid the destruction which they believed to be coming upon them for the profane mockery they had been guilty of.
I think that one's my favorite. I like the idea of a bunch of people dressing up as devil, and then they get a real one that shows up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with this shit when you're performing devils, right? Right, theater people? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
So I have a question for
Yeah,
you.
what do you got?
I'm curious. Normally we try to talk about the monster through history, and I think we're sort of getting there. One question I was thinking about just all the 16 trillion ways the devil shows up, but I'm also curious if you know the answer, and maybe the audience knows the answer to this. So we have, the generalized concept of the devil. We have Satan. We have Lucifer. We have Beelzebub. How do I reconcile all these different names for a sort of similar entity?
Well, that is a really good question, because they are all kind of, sometimes in some literatures, they're all the name for the same person, right? The same entity. Lucifer, Satan, Beelzebub, Mephistopheles, right?
Yeah, Mephistopheles, forgot that one.
But in other mythologies, they're all different. They're all dukes of hell, and princes, and they all have different roles to play within hell, So it really depends. Crazy.
Got it.
Yeah. I wish I had a clearer answer, but sometimes they're just one person, and sometimes devil is like a job that a guy has, right? Like Lucifer, for instance, like goes to hell and and decides he's going to be the devil, and so he takes on the role of the devil, and it's his job for a while.
Got it. What else you got?
Well, now you probably want to know about payment plans for this selling of the soul.
I mean, this seems pretty straightforward.
You don't want to know. That's what it is.
Oh.
Yeah. We don't talk about that.
Okay. Then we move on.
We move on to how do you get out of it?
Right. Yeah. Because I should be able to get everything I want and still keep my soul.
Exactly. You should be able to do that. Theophilus of Adana was a bishop who wanted to be an archbishop, and he sold his soul to the devil to become an archbishop. And he wrote his name in the red book, Theophilus of Adana. But he was saved at the last minute by the intercession of the Virgin Mary.
And you're saying that's how I do it too?
I'm thinking in your case it's going to be a little more difficult than that.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're probably right.
Yeah. So Robert Johnson, you guys know Robert Johnson, the great American blues musician?
Of course. And one of the great devil soul selling stories.
It was said that he
sold
the
20th century.
That's right. It was said that he sold his soul to the devil in Chula Junction, Mississippi.
Yeah, to
play that
guitar
yeah.
as well as he could play it. Yeah,
that's
now
right.
We're talking.
That's right. And he went to the crossroads one night to battle for his soul. Outcome unknown. But you can go to that place. There's a place in Mississippi, Chula Junction, and there's a sign there. There's not much. There's like an overgrown railroad track and a sign saying this is where Robert Johnson battled the devil for his soul.
That's early awesome rock and roll marketing right there.
Totally.
It's fantastic. That's the Number of the Beast album cover for its time.
Nicholas Paganini, the violinist, was said to have sold his soul to the devil to become the best violin player who ever lived. And I think this is because his enemies figured he couldn't have just worked really, really hard, but he must have done it. But because of these accusations, he was not allowed to have a Christian burial. And the Pope said that anybody who ever listened to his song, Caprice, the Caprice, would be excommunicated. And this is it. Everybody hear that? Good. You're all damned.
And for our listeners at home, there's a lot of bebopping going on of heads, which is, I think, the exact right reaction. So, Michael, I have another little bit of commentary for you I've been thinking about.
That's when the screaming starts. Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are we done talking about soul selling?
Yeah, that's all I got for soul selling, yeah. Unless you have any questions about how to sell your soul.
Well, I do want to open it up to questions here in a second, but
this is the point in the podcast where you usually talk to me about modern versions of the devil.
Well, yeah, and I guess when I think about modern versions of the devil, like, the devil has such great marketing.
Yeah.
Like, the devil is a master of marketing. I mean, hot sauces and underwear and candy, and like, I have consumed all of those things.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the Sanrio Satan, I'm going to get like all my Hello Kitty gear but devilized.
Damn it.
I haven't even tried to do that. And I have to imagine if you are actually a God-fearing human, which there are a lot of in this world, how unnerving that must be to live in this Western society where the devil has been very normalized in media and so forth.
And you can get candy. Devil's Red Hots and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a hockey team called the New Jersey Devils and so on. I'm curious about your thoughts.
Well, actually, funnily enough, I think the New Jersey Devil is a completely different monster.
Well, right. Yeah, that's a cryptid, right?
Yeah, it's a cryptid. We should do that one.
But their logo, I mean, if you didn't know that there was a New Jersey Devil, which we'll talk about on a future podcast when we do cryptids, you would see their logo is very
devil.
Devilry.
A devilry devil.
Devilry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious about your thoughts on that, just the devil's permeation in society and how that must feel for folks that are actually, and I don't know if we have anybody in this room that feels this would probably not.
This is a monster
crowd
conference.
really here, but
Bunch of heathens, especially
Yeah.
that one back there who said boo to God.
Yeah. Fingers pointed, but yeah,
Exactly.
that's gotta be quite unnerving.
I would imagine so, but I think that when we are scared of a thing, which we are a lot, I mean, the whole premise of all my research is that people are basically motivated by fear. Fear is the number one motivator of human emotion. That is what my research tells me. And when we're afraid of something, we use a lot of different techniques to try and be less afraid of it. And one of the techniques that you can use to be less afraid of something is to, make it a logo and put it on a product. It reduces the fear. You can say, yeah, that's just the devil. That's not going to hurt me. And then you're, riding as fast as you can to get to the bridge before it's too late. That's the headless horseman. That's different.
Excellent. What do you think? Do you want to open it up?
Yeah, let's open it up.
I mean, we never have an opportunity to do that when it's just you and I.
For the first time ever on the show where they talk about monsters, we are going to take questions from the audience.
If you just want to talk about your favorite representations of the devil, go for that.
Yeah, if you have any questions at all, we are here to answer them. Okay, I see a couple of hands over there. Fantastic. Phew, that was close.
Yeah. Awkward.
I was going to do that thing where I'd be really quiet and say, I'll wait. I'll wait.
Like that thing you do to your students?
Exactly.
Same difference?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Catherine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. On the assumption that my grandmother will never listen to this podcast, I will do the traditional academic thing of saying more of a comment than a question. But I will just say that my very observant Southern Baptist grandmother is a huge fan of the Arizona Sun Devils. So there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance that probably exists in this country. Just a smidge.
Cognitive dissonance. Yeah. Cognitive dissonance is another thing that results when you have fear.
Yeah.
Right? And you were like, oh no.
Yeah,
it
being
doesn't
very
bother me.
selective about what you care about.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's important. Well, to Catherine's grandma, we hope you're a longtime listener of the show in the future. Yeah.
Catherine's grandma, we know you have 3.5 million podcasts to choose from. Thanks for choosing ours.
Thanks for choosing ours. Joe, go ahead.
I was just wondering if you had heard about how the Satanists are like our greatest treasure right now. And they're fighting the religious right by demanding their own religious rights. So
absolutely.
Satan's the hero of the story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, true story. Actually, the head of the so I always get
Satanic Temple.
I get the temple and the Church of Satan, mixed up, and I don't want to do that in this context. But
I believe the Church of Satan was the one that was founded by Anton LaVey, and it is more like
and his big cat.
And that's more like...
Which went to Melanie Griffith. Does anybody know about that? It's a weird story.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Anton LaVey's lion in San Francisco ended up with Melanie Griffith's family.
No kidding.
That's an aside for you.
I didn't know that.
But the Satanic Temple, true story, the one of the leaders in the UK is a good friend of mine that was, he was profiled for Vice. And they're doing fantastic work.
Yeah, they're doing amazing work. So they, I believe this was them, that they commissioned this statue of Baphomet.
Yes.
Which is another name of Satan, sitting with his fingers up like this in a very Jesus-like pose. And there's two little children who look like very much like Dick and Jane. They're little white kids with starched collars, and they're sitting at his feet, learning everything about the world from him. And they demanded that this statue be put up in the courthouse in Mississippi that had put up 10 Commandments. And they said, if you're going to allow them to do it, then you're going to allow us to do it.
Us too.
And it worked. They all got taken down. I'm not sure where it is now, but that statue, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, they do cool stuff. Hanaro.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you talk a little bit about the devil's personality? The earlier in time, you talked about being really scary and dark, and then modern times, he's kind of like even comical, and
Totally.
he's got a sense of humor. I guess I don't know if you have.
Yeah. So this, I'm so glad you brought this up. I wish I had put this in my notes, because this is super interesting. I think in medieval theater, right, the devil is usually very, very comical. Can't do anything right. There's a play called The Harrowing of Hell, which is the story of how Jesus goes down after he's crucified. He goes down to hell and he harrows hell, which means he takes all the good people out of hell and brings them up to heaven, right? Because they couldn't go to heaven before because they didn't have Jesus, see? So he goes down to hell and he brings up. So in this play, the devil is sitting in the center of hell, and he is like desperately trying to run this ridiculously complex organization. And other devils are coming to him, other demons and stuff are coming to him going, Satan, Satan, there's something happening. You know, they've come and they're knocking at the doors. Some guy named Jesus. And he's like, Jesus? What are you talking about? I don't know anyone named Jesus. They're like, yeah, the fisherman from Galilee. What are you talking about? And it's
just bad operational design of this organization.
Yeah. And so, you know, and then eventually he gets harrowed, right? And then in the Renaissance, after that, the devil in the theater changes dramatically, and he becomes much more threatening. Although he can't do anything directly to you. He can only suggest, cajole, illusion, and make illusions. And he just works by influence, but he's much scarier, much more pernicious, right? So I think that this has to do with the rise of humanism, right? And this sense that if the church isn't at the top of the cultural ticket, right? If the church loses its power, then the danger that the church protected us from, spiritual danger, is now more threatening, right? So it's a side effect, right? We think we're moving forward. We always think we're moving forward, but it's always it's a seesaw. Absolutely. Thanks for that question. That was great. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a very broad question since there are so many interpretations of the devil, but I was wondering what your favorite adaptations of him could be, in anything. Yeah.
I mentioned Little Shop of Horrors before. This is one of my favorites. This is the story of a young man who gets a plant, and the plant only lives by sucking blood, by drinking, and it eventually becomes this enormous plant that takes over the whole stage, and it makes all his dreams come true, right? In exchange for blood. And that's a Faustian story. It's a story of a man who sells his soul to a plant. That's one of my favorites. What about you?
There's a couple that come to mind for me.
Angel Heart. Oh,
Angel Heart. It was the first one that came to. Has anybody seen this movie?
Ooh,
so I mean, I think it's an underrated classic. It's got Robert De Niro playing the devil. It was the movie that got Lisa Bonet kicked out of the Cosby Show, which has nothing to do with the devil. It's just a nice anecdote. I also instantly think of the robot devil in Futurama.
Oh, the robot devil in Futurama is fantastic.
And the nice thing about this podcast is we'll say this, and then through the magic of editing, we'll get clips for those things. So I thank you for that question, because we're going to get some really good sound bites out of it.
Vernon, please insert here the robot devil from Futurama. That would be great. Yeah. Who else's favorite? Miranda, go ahead.
No, I was just going to, I hate to say this, a comment rather than a question.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it. We're taking
I
comments.
air quotes around that. No, just going back to what you said about the Satanic Temple's Baphomet statue. It is actually currently in their headquarters in Salem, Massachusetts.
No.
And if you visit, you can get your photo taken sitting on his lap.
You know, I was just in Salem, Massachusetts just recently. Renee Fox, co-director of the Center for Monstrous Studies, and I were there at the American Gothic Studies Association conference in March, and it was so cold. And I wish I had known that, Miranda. You were there too. You were there. Did you do it? Why didn't you tell me?
It was my profile picture on Twitter for a while.
Oh my God, I would
Yeah,
totally
I was
do that.
going to say, I think you just came up with our promotional photo for the podcast, is that we can go and sit and hold hands on
Satan's lap. That would be so great. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Melanie.
Does the devil ever appear in feminine form or other genders?
Ooh, that is an
Absolutely.
excellent question.
Yes. So I think the devil is often gendered male. But in the Middle Ages, he's often depicted as having a face where his genitals should be. And so I don't know what that counts as.
So yeah, I've got one.
Yeah.
So so there was two versions of this movie.
I know what you're going to say.
You know exactly what I'm going to.
Yeah,
do you know
I do.
exactly what I'm going
I
to say?
do. I know what you're going to say.
The first one I'll come back to in a second because it's also excellent. But the second one is the remake with Brendan Fraser and
Elizabeth
Hurley, Bedazzled. And
Bedazzled.
she is a female devil.
Yeah, she's wonderful as the devil.
Actually, she does a very, very good job. But if you haven't seen the original Dudley Moore and Peter Cook, Bedazzled, I highly recommend it. It is a absolutely fantastic snapshot of that period of time, London, late 60s, and it's a badass movie.
Although I would recommend that if you're going to watch that, you should smoke a little of the devil's lettuce.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
We
I
are
was
like
like, can I say that here?
two peas in a
It's
pod.
legal here.
It's legal in California.
That's right.
That's right.
And in Seattle, where I'm from, so it's fine.
Fantastic. We're perfectly safe.
And wherever you're listening, if it's legal for you too, you should try that.
Yeah. Smoke some marijuana and watch Bedazzled. Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, hi. No, I had a question about The Devil's Children
Yeah.
in particular. You know, I think like in 2024 there were a bunch of movies about, you know, nuns getting pregnant with devil babies and things like that. So I don't know, like the devil as a father figure. What's up?
That's very interesting. Yeah, there are a lot of stories, like The Exorcist, for instance. No, not The Exorcist. What? Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Damien.
The Omen.
Isn't that the Omen?
Yeah.
The Omen. Right. Yeah, I think this notion that that the devil can influence us through his progeny, right, is a very powerful one, and I think that we're
and
seeing
super blasphemous, right?
Super
I mean, when
blasphemous.
you think about what the connotation is, in it being the opposite direction
of Jesus,
of
right?
Jesus,
It's the
yeah.
Jesus in reverse, right?
Yeah.
But I've actually noticed that Dracula also in many ways is Jesus in reverse, right? There's the blood connection, there's the eternal life connection, and it's sort of like, yeah, but when Dracula does it, it's not cool. But when Jesus does it, it's cute, right? So, and that happens a lot, right? But I also think, you know, Jose, the other part of your point is that there have been a lot of devil movies lately, right? And a lot of apocalypse, spirits, you know, Christian apocalypse movies coming out past 5 years, I would say. And to me, you know, my research suggests, my model suggests that this is not a surprise because it feels like the end times right now.
Right.
You know?
I
And
knew
so
that
no
you were
wonder
going to
we
go
would do
there.
that.
You always go there.
Well,
You know,
it feels
it's
like
a
the end
reflection
times.
of our culture and a reflection of climate change and so forth.
Climate change and political chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a dark time. For sure.
Anyway, have a good night, everybody.
No, no. It just occurs to me that this podcast is probably going to air after the results of the presidential election have come in.
Also good for radio is my fingers crossed.
Yeah, you can't see this, but Mike has crossed his fingers. Other thoughts? Final thoughts?
Yeah,
I
we
s-
got we got
Yeah, I see
we
one
got
over
like
there.
6 more minutes.
Yeah, we
and
do.
we'll set you free after a very long day.
We haven't told any dad jokes today.
Not yet.
Not yet. Go ahead.
On this being aired after election, that means it's also aired after Halloween. I'm wondering if you can talk about the devil as a Halloween costume
Ooh.
a little bit.
Ooh. You go for it. Go for it.
I've done it. I probably will do it again. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, right. Speaking of taking the power away from the devil, we dress our kids as little devils.
We do. Absolutely, we do. Yeah.
I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. Except
I think this is the same thing. I think that when we dress up as monsters, it's another way of coping with our fears, right? Where you could say, I don't really believe in monsters. Ha ha ha, look, I'm a sexy devil. I'm making fun of this tradition. Ha 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 ha. And then, 3 a.m, you're not so sure, right?
Yeah, do you think we're also like stealing the power by making the thing kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like am I gonna get myself in trouble for saying this? The devil's kind of cool too.
You have to give the devil his due.
Next question.
No, no. I mean, I think. Sorry, Don. I'll get right to you. But it's interesting that we have in the past 20 years, I would say, become enamored with embodying monsters on our own, right? Rather than fighting monsters or being afraid of monsters, we become monsters. So Twilight, Harry Potter.
Yeah, Twilight comes to mind.
Yeah. We talk about how cool it would be to be a monster, right? That wasn't like in the 40s and 50s. Nobody was like, oh, it would be so cool to be a monster, right? Now people are like, oh, I'm Dracula.
Right.
Oh, I'm a vampire.
I'm more Teen Wolf.
I'm more of a psychic
shoot basketball
vampire,
really well.
Yeah. And so I think that is another way of coping with fear. Yeah. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I think that was actually a really good segue to what I was going to say.
Oh, good.
One of my personal favorite interpretations of the devil, and also to talk about sort of the gender of the devil. Clive Barker's Nightbreed, and more specifically, because it's much more explicit in the book, but Baphomet sort of has this like revolutionary sort of godhead, who's also got female breasts and goat man body.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that one up, because that is, it's a hero figure. It's a revolutionary figure for this outcast, this oppressed group. Yeah, and in the 80s even.
Yeah.
That was a really good bring up.
Loves Clive Barker. Clive Barker also wrote a play called The History of the Devil, which nobody knows about. You know about it. Jose knows about it. Right. Awesome. In which the devil demands to go on trial for his crimes against humanity and be exonerated. Right. It's great. It's really good. It's not Nightbreed. It's not Hellraiser. It's a very powerful, thinky kind of philosophy kind of play. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah, Jen.
Which is that lately I have seen a lot of the devil as the anti-hero. You see it in Lucifer, you see it in Supernatural, especially on the television shows that are paranormal related. There's a lot of that. So maybe talk a little bit about how we got from the devil as a goat head who has inappropriate sex with witches to to the devil as like the cool anti-hero that actually in a way saves the world by doing the wrong thing the right way.
You're the scholar.
So Lucifer was a fallen angel, which suggests that he was very beautiful, or that he was 300 feet high and made of fire. It depends. It depends on which edition you're reading, right? I mean, the angels used to show up in the Old Testament, and the first thing they say is, "Fear not," which to me means they are very scary.
Yeah.
Right? Fear not. Nah, I'm trying. So obviously the devil's going to have, Lucifer anyway, is going to have appeal, right? He's going to be very beautiful, right? And so Mike Carey, who's a friend of the Center for Monster Studies, who's a great horror writer from England, who wrote a book called The Girl with All the Gifts that they made into a movie, which is probably the best zombie movie ever made. So he's a friend of mine, dropping a name. And he wrote a series for DC Comics called Lucifer, which was fantastic, really, really good. If you love monsters, you should check this out. It's a really, really good series.
And I think the show mentioned is based on that comic.
The show mentioned is based on that comic because the basic premise is that Lucifer quits being the devil and retires and opens a bar in Los Angeles and gets into all kinds of crazy adventures. Yeah. Does that answer your question at all, Jen? Sort of?
But it's close enough.
The allure of the devil. Well, the devil's got to have some allure, or he's not
devil
seductive.
as anti-hero, though.
The devil as anti-hero.
Yeah, as an underdog story.
Well, that's what the History of the Devil is all about, the Clive Barker play. History of the Devil is all about the devil being misunderstood. The crucifixion, for instance, was all Jesus' idea, in the play. So, I don't know. It's not a satisfying answer. Somebody ask a question, an easier question, and we'll go out on that. Ariane.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
I was just kind of curious if you two could talk a little bit about the animals associated with the devil. Black cats, snakes. There are probably a bunch more, but those are the two that are coming to mind. Dragons, I think, too, which are kind of an animal-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about the dragon as being a devil.
That's right. The Western dragon, Draco occidentalis, is very much associated with the devil in these like Arthurian stories, for instance, right? So which are ultimately Christian stories, you know, with a little fictional flair to them, right? So the dragon often occupies the same place as the devil, right? In these stories. And so we talked about St. George when we talked about dragons, right? And he was like driving the devil out of England by slaying the dragon, right? So what was the other half of that question?
Black cats.
Black cats.
Snakes and
yeah. So so the devil in his pacts with witches in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance would give demons to these witches, which could take the form of black cats, toads, snakes, bats.
Demon familiars.
They're familiars is what they were called at the time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, cool.
Super cool. You want to play us out?
So the devil whispered in my ear, "You're not strong enough to withstand the coming storm." And I whispered into the devil's ear, "I love your eggs." Okay. Yeah? Okay. Woo! Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you guys all being here. I just have to say a big thank you to everybody at the Learning Center here at the University of California, Santa Cruz, particularly Vernon Lagakis, who is our technical wizard, and Aaron Zachmeyer and Amelia York, and everybody up there at the center. I also want to thank John Radeke and Juan Perez, who are here tonight, being our tech guys. I want to thank Jen Mahal for just being amazingly awesome in general and being awesome. And is Labras still here? Thanks to Labras Willendorf. And then, of course, without any qualification, Colleen Jennings. Thank you so much, Colleen, for making this happen, for making this whole thing happen. And of course, I want to thank my co-host, Mike Halakakis.
Thanks, Doc. And I want to thank our audience for staying after a very long day and being super enthusiastic with great questions and all the rest. Thank you all.
Oh my God. I almost forgot though. I'll never
You almost
live this
did,
down.
but you
I
didn't.
almost
Go
did
for
it.
it.
Renee Fox, co-director of the Center for Monster Studies, is right over there tonight. We cannot,
that was a close one.
Yeah, that was a close one. We cannot do this. I could not do any of this if it wasn't for Renee and Jen and Labras and all the other folks who help us out here at the Center for Monster Studies. Sorry about that. Okay, now you can applaud and we can go. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Yay!